Hey, it's Blaine here. I thought, given that Season 2.5 is now just finished, I thought why not just do a short series of tutorials to help returning players and brand new players to Roguetech. So, this is my first one, Tutorial 1, Install Options. I'm afraid there's not going to be any battle mechs fighting each other, tanks blowing up. This is just to help people get to grips with basically all of these different options we've got. When you're looking through this video, I suggest if there's a particular area you're interested in, just skip forward, find the one you want, and hopefully what I sort of blabber about will help you. Anyway, first things first, when you're installing Roguetech, make sure that your install target points to the correct position, and I suggest strongly that you put your workspace in somewhere different, like these two, for example, that I use. More often than not, when people have problems installing, it's because one or other of these are incorrect. Also, never run the launcher from the downloads file. Move it somewhere safe. Like, for example, I have mine just within the Roguetech cache area. Right, if you want to reconfigure or if you want to initially install Roguetech, you have the install options. If you want to get this available after installing, just hit update and install, wait for that to finish, and then the reconfigure Roguetech button will become lit. This will then bring up this window here of Roguetech configurations. So what are they? First things first, a lot of them refer to online progress. What is online progress? I'm not going to bother covering that here. Jamie has already written a really good comprehensive guide if you go and visit roguewar.org. So, first option, online or offline. The online map is the main one that we will play. It's online, you get to influence the map, you get to join different factions, interact with other players. There's no PvP. A lot of people were a bit confused with this and they think the online map means direct player versus player. It isn't. The second option is the old offline map. Don't use it. It's really broken. It'll probably be removed by the time the big save break goes in place, but I don't know. And then you have the new offline contact, Wartech 2C. This is something you could play if you don't want to join the rest of us in the online community, but personally I highly recommend going for online. You have better access to shops, better access to kit. It's, you know, you have events and activity. It's just great. Right, so as we move down, we then will start looking at the difficulty scaling. So you've got three options here. You've got difficulty by company. This is set at 14 million C-bills per half skill increase. It's averaged through your last 8 drops for the lance value. So if you only drop a single mech 8 times and it's a little light mech, then that's going to lower your value. If you drop a full lance of 8 or more units, that C-bill value will be averaged over your next 8 missions to determine how much difficulty you get. It does exclude some missions types such as Jules and Solaris. If you select that option, you will also gain plus 5% online progress. The next option is by planet difficulty. This means that the planets never actually change. Maximum difficulty here is limited to 20, so that's 5 orange skulls. You don't gain any online progress, and it's okay for starting with, but personally I just stick with company rating. The next one is the legacy company strength. This is how we used to do it. So this is actually set at 16.5 million C-bills per half skull, and it counts your 8 most expensive mechs. So when we used to use this as the default one, a lot of people had what's called hanger queens, really expensive individual mechs that had the most expensive gear you could get purely to raise their difficulty. They may not have even ever dropped those things, they just sit there in the hangar looking pretty. If you choose that option, it will limit you. You can only it'll basically limit you to an online influence of just 10, so I wouldn't recommend it. Stick with either company or planet if you must. The next section covers enemy support lances. Support lances are additional lances that the Op4 may turn up with. So for example, if you have a standard mission, you will have the main lance and often a secondary lance assisting them. On top of that, you can have support lances. Now the default setting will give you either 0 to 1 additional Op4 lances for difficulties 0 to 10, so that's green skulls. After difficulty 11, orange skulls, you will have a chance to see 0 to 2 additional lances. As you go up in difficulty, you should always expect to see 2 support lances joining the Op4. However, this option is kind of vital if you want to actually make a significant influence gains on the map, so yeah, pick it. If you want easier gameplay and less influence on the map, you could either go for the easy option. This reduces your online progress by 50% and limits your maximum influence gain per mission to only 10. The next option is no enemy support lances. This is okay if you're just developing, because then you can have fewer units to fight, but it has a huge impact on your online progress. 90% reduction, and also caps maximum influence to only 6. If we move down to the spawn randomizer, you have two options. You've either got random, so enemy lances can appear anywhere on the map during deployment, or you've got disabled, where enemy lances will appear together. This is great if you want to hurl a nuke at your enemy and reduce them to ash in a single go, but it does reduce your online progress by 2%. Battle deployment is our next options. Here we've got 3 different choices. You've got manual deployment. This is great. It allows you to basically pick anywhere on the map to deploy. There are restrictions though. You can either pick to drop within the radius of the default deployment zone, or you can opt to drop anywhere else on the map, as long as there are no enemy spawns due to appear close. This option will also reduce online progress by 2%, plus your units won't have spawn protection when they drop. That means no pips. Spawn protection allowed 6 pips, plus being braced. The only thing you will still have is your units will be braced, so be really careful when you deploy. With most maps, you'll deploy using a dropship, so all of your units have to be fairly close to each other. Sometimes though, with most urban maps, you drop using drop pods. When this happens, you can drop each unit anywhere on the map, assuming they won't be too close to an enemy spawn point. The second option is to ask for deployment type. I've not actually used this myself, but I know what it does. It either gives you the option to use manual or automatic deploy. I assume, but don't know for certain, that if you choose the automatic deploy, your units will drop with spawn protection, so 6 pips and braced. As with manual drop, this will reduce your online progress by 2%. The third option is automatic deploy. This is how it always used to be done. So all of your units will drop within the default deployment zone. It can easily mean that they will actually drop amongst enemy units sometimes, but at least they will start with the spawn protection of 6 pips and braced. Okay, the next option that we look at is convoys. Here you've got 2 options. You've either got the AI convoy, which is how it always used to be done, or manual convoy. It's a no-brainer. Go for manual convoy. It allows you to control the units so long as they stick to the convoy route. It allows you to choose who they shoot at. I mean, the problem was the AI sometimes sort of fell over and you couldn't complete the mission. So manual convoy is really the only option in my mind. Next, we move to map size. The first thing to clear up: every time you load the mission, the entire map will load. The map size only restricts where on the map your current mission will take place, so it sets boundaries depending on which option you've chosen. The biggest difference you'll see is how long your mission takes. With 100% map size, you could have to move a long way to reach each target group. As for online progress, you get a bonus of you get a bonus of 5% for picking the 33%, and you get a bonus of 10% for picking either 66 or 100% map increase. If you choose manual deploy, the bigger the map, it's also much easier to find a safe deployment location where you can hide behind terrain. Given that you don't have the spawn protection, I would highly recommend a larger map if you've chosen manual deployment. Next we move on to allies. Doesn't need a lot of explaining. You either do or you don't have allies potentially turning up to help you. Having said that, I've had my mechs caught from behind by a friendly fire incident thanks to my allies, so they can be a double-edged sword. Your choice. The combat logs, we either go with floaties, which is the original vanilla system, so as you hit things you see a little damage come up from the target to show you what's going on, or you can choose a combat log. The disadvantage with floaties, you can't go back over it to see what happened. With the combat log, you're given a little screen in the top right of the map that you can scroll back through to see exactly what happened with each thing, whether it's damage, whatever, falling over, pilots injured. So most of us, as far as I'm aware, now go for combat log because it's just better. The pilot randomizer relates to how your pilots start. You can either pick pick Ronin if you want to always get some decent starting pilots, or you can pick random generated if you don't mind mostly getting standard pilots like those you find in the hiring hall. The second option does give you a small boost of 1% to your online progress. Right, as we move on to the next section, most of this is what we would refer to as content. So where you're looking at content, a lot of these, if you add them, that's fine, but if you then take them away later, it can break your saves. So be really, really careful and do it at your own peril if you actually remove a setting once you've already started a career. The first thing we have is Concrete Jungle. This refers to urban maps, so it'll either give you the normal urban map if you don't choose it, or it will turn into a war-torn nightmare as mentioned. What this actually means is you will frequently encounter ambushes during urban missions. That could include traps, it can include ambushes such as troops inside buildings firing at you, or even units of mechs and vehicles bursting out of concealed locations. You'll also gain 2% online progress for choosing this. This next section is the download content modules. With vanilla Battletech, there were 3 additional expansions that were added: Flashpoint, Urban Warfare, and Heavy Metal. Only tick these if you own them. If you tick one and you don't own it, it won't work. So yeah, make sure. If you don't yet have any of the expansion packs, the one I highly recommend is Flashpoint if you're just going to go for one. But honestly, you quite often see them for sale, so you can pick them up quite cheap occasionally. So I'd look out for them in the shop. As we move down to the next section, we're looking at the different eras. What this allows you to do is actually pick units that have been made by the Roguetech team that fit into different eras. Now the original Battletech, as I'm aware, it was all pre-3062. So the Roguetech team have added 4 other eras of specific units. So from the Civil War era, 3062-3067, Word of Blake Jihad era, 3068 to 3080, the Republic era, 3080 to 3130, and the Dark Age era, 3130 and onwards. What this actually means is you've got specific units and mechs that are restricted just to one or more of these different eras. If you go onto the main Roguetech wiki and you search for the different mechs, some of them you'll see in the bottom right hand corner of their display info will actually say Dark Age era or Word of Blake, things like that. So that will mean that they are restricted to just one or more of these different eras. Personally, I tend to play each career with just a single option, so it gives me a different variation from one season to the next. The next section includes quite a lot of different optional mods and contents. Many of them will add additional online progress for you. The first thing you've got is proto-mechs. These are some of the earliest mechs. They're generally bigger than battle armors, but much smaller than full-blown mechs. In-game, these would now appear as a group of small proto-mechs rather than a single unit. Selecting this option will give you an additional 1% online progress. The non-canon 2C units by Raza are basically inner sphere mechs that have been upgraded with captured clan tech. It's a great option if you want to see clan tech, but are based in the inner sphere. It also adds another 1% to your online progress. Apocalypse. What can I say? Ask yourself, do you like urban mechs? If the answer is yes to this, this is probably not for you. On the other hand, if you absolutely love everything urby, then go for it. For another 1% progress, you'll add, about 40 or more urbies? Maybe a lot more. You'll also find urbies appear a lot early on, and I mean a lot. You could have entire op4s made up mostly of urbies. But not only will it add normal urbies, you'll find yourself seeing urby lambs, urby tanks, 70-ton urby lords, urby turrets, and even urby copters. With a much anticipated save break update, you'll even have the chance to obtain a super heavy urby, the 110-ton Urban King. The custom Omnimex is the next one. This adds some really, really tough Omnimex configurations, but be aware these buggers can be nasty. It does add 2% online progress for your troubles. Pirate Tech is our next one. This is another highly customized set of units. Honestly, anything pirate can be as dangerous to the enemy as to your own unit. Some of the Pirate Tech units can be devastating to fight, so again beware that this does add some really tough opponents, but worth another 2% online progress. Oh, the elite pilots and mechs. This includes some of Idiots and other mods' evil creations. These pilots break the mold and have skills and abilities beyond those of your own pilot can obtain. The mechs they use are highly optimized killer machines. Only pick this if you want to sometimes face incredibly tough opponents for yet another 2% online progress. The risk content comes next. So you can think of these as a little like pirates, but without the plain stupidity. Risk tech is seriously cool, and frequently much better than equivalent tech. This option will add another 1% online progress, and give you access to what I think is some of the coolest stuff in Roguetech. The Society tech comes next, so this is basically improved clan tech. In many ways it's similar to Risk, but with that clan feel, so lots more omnis. It'll also award you another 1% on more online progress, and provide access to some really cool Society gear and units. The next one is my favourite, the Super Heavies. Loads of players I've talked to though miss out on this one, because they think if you select it, it means you'll have Super Heavy units potentially appear in any mission. You won't. Super Heavies are pretty much restricted to just specific Super Heavy tag missions, and these come with warnings. If you say the mission text includes danger in bold red letters, you know there's going to be Super Heavy units present. This option will also see a huge, and I mean huge, increase in content with the safe break. I've been led to understand there are over 100 new Super Heavy units being added, plus all Super Heavy mechs have been redesigned. I cannot recommend this option enough, so much fun, plus another 1% online progress. The nuclear option does what it says on the tin. Nukes in Roguetech can win or lose you a mission with a single volley. They're expensive to use and highly dangerous. There's no online progress bonus for taking this, but if you do, you will find unique nuke carrying units, and nuke ammo will potentially appear for other units in the Op4 and allies using the ammo shuffler. Experimental weapons. Again, it does what it says. This will add a bunch of prototype and experimental tech. A lot of these can be nasty to face, but it does mean you might pick them up in some salvage, some of this awesome gear, plus gain another 2% online. Quick sell. This is by Plate Glass Armour. What can I say about these? They look great at first glance, but you are getting dodgy gear that fell off the back of a convoy. This stuff is fun, but so broken in many cases. Enjoy it, but don't rely on it, although you do gain yet another 2% online progress by picking this option. Cracking good times. Ever heard of Squid Game? Want your pilots to sometimes be forced to take part in the Roguetech version? Then this is for you. Expect to have some random pilots die during your career due to Kraken events, but you never know. They might bring some extremely rare and valuable gear home for you, if they survive. 1% progress if you have little regard for your pilot's safety. Okay, we've got additional flashpoints and stories next. This does require the Flashpoint X-Pack. Do not tick this if you don't own it. So the first one we've got is the Urana Restoration. This lets you experience much of the single-player vanilla campaign, as told by a rather drunk Duncan Fisher. Don't expect him to have a fully accurate recollection of events. LV426. Ever seen the Alien movies? This option unlocks Xenomech content for Roguetech. The Black Marauder, Xeno Queen, Cockroaches, Serpentis Black. Love it myself. It's fun, but the Xeno missions, once unlocked, are extremely difficult. The Drones of Siberia brings Transformers to Roguetech. This is a fun chain of flashpoints. Plus it unlocks additional missions that you sometimes get to fight against these guys. You also get some highly unique rewards by completing each part of the chain. I'm not going to spoil it because they are awesome. Heretic is the next one. For a fan of Warhammer 40k like me, this option adds flashpoints that bring the Emperor's troops into Roguetech. Hell, you even get to fight against a 316-ton Baneblade. Really good fun, love it. The Super Heavy Flashpoints option adds a bunch of extra flashpoints with super heavy targets, sort of. Who would have thought? This means you get to fight against the likes of the Mecha Gojira and Mothball. Once completed, these units are also unlocked, so can appear in certain missions. The Legend series of flashpoints lets you fight alongside some of the greatest heroes and units within Battletech lore. They're quite good fun and add a lot of sort of really good story-driven content. The final option is the Battler 2 Kid. This basically adds the flashpoint that lets you fight the battle yourself. This is an extremely long, and I mean extremely long and hard flashpoint to win. But if you want to fight against lots and lots and lots of clanners in the middle of the inner sphere, then hell, this is perfect. Next, we're moving on to some of the additional hireable Ronin. Many of the modding team, first of all, have got Ronin pilots based on them. So you can find like Dan, who is called Dan, which subtle, and other modern community team members within that section. If you choose the Jarnfolk pilots, this brings to you a bunch of pilots that memorialise Season 1 of the online map, where the Jarnfolk took control of the vast majority of the systems and even became a new clan by winning a trial of combat against Clan Wolf. Rise, Clan Sprucefisk. Next, you've got the Omega Squad. This brings a bunch of extra pilots that are considerably better than your standard hireable goons. It's quite a good one to pick if you want to have some really nice ones appear sometimes. The next option down is the Mandalorian pilots and emblems. This brings you some Mandalore themed Star Wars universe pilots to Roguetech. I love it. The final option is the Roguetech online movers and shakers. What Jamie and his team have done here, they've actually added pilots that they have decided have become legends during each online season. These pilots have all been active Roguetech players and all come with a unique skill, plus add some great memorialised content. The emblems section doesn't really need much to say about. Each one of these adds different emblems that you can use to customise your company with different logos. The portrait loader options allow you to increase the range of available portraits for your commander or to customise your pilots with. Now we're moving back to another option that actually does affect the game directly: evacuated cities or not. Quite simply, if you like hearing screams as buildings tumble and cars get squashed, then pick that they didn't evacuate. If screams are not to your liking, then get those cities emptied. The Fire FX update within the original vanilla Battletech had towering plumes of smoke. This updated version is a little more restrained. As far as I'm aware, most of us opt for this. The Fog of War option is pretty self-explanatory, so pick whichever you prefer. As for the night vision option, if you choose night vision overlay, any unit of yours that has electronics with night vision will overlay the map in a green tint when you select it. The next one is fog visibility. Now, fog within Roguetech always used to be a little bit on the thin side, so it was really difficult to understand why sometimes you kept missing. It has recently been fixed, so fog density is actually real, and believe me, you can see it. It can be like a pea soup, but yeah, I love it. And being able to actually see that it's really dense fog explains why your mechs just cannot hit the side of a barn. The speed mod is really good. It helps you to actually, well, I mean, the old vanilla one was lovely. You got to see the mechs stomping across the map, but it took a long time. The speed mod increases a whole range of different activities so that the gameplay takes a lot less time. So yeah, most of us, I think, probably use 100% or close. Quality of life options, doesn't need much to say about there. Skip the intro. Yeah, makes it load up a bit faster. As for mech sorting, this is something that I personally don't like to use, but it does allow you to choose to automatically sort your mechs by cost, tonnage or name. I prefer my mech lab so that I can customise it and the position of the mechs within it myself. The FX options include some great alternatives to the vanilla game. There's also the travel cutscene option. This basically makes travel from one system to another much quicker than it used to be. Now we move on to coloured floaties. If you like seeing the state of your pilot's panic in full Technicolor, you can go for colour or not colour. And then you've also got, next one is style of alternative portraits for mech. It really again speaks for itself. That doesn't need much explanation, so pick whichever you prefer. This next option is really important, the tech and repair options. Original vanilla Battletech, every battle you fought, you then had free instant armour repair after the battle. If you pick that for the online map, it will hammer your online progress. 50% reduction, plus it will cap your influence to only 10. So honestly, if you want to have any effect on the online map, you pretty much have to go for repair after battles yourself. Next we've got localizations. The default for Roguetech obviously is in English, but there is also a Russian language localization if you wish to use it, so you can check here. The miscellaneous tasks, these two are pretty much there in case you're having trouble with your install. If you are, the second one, remove old Roguetech saves, make sure you back up your saves before you use that, otherwise you will be starting with a clean career. Final two options, you've got either multi-threading or default rendering. Given most CPUs these days are multi-threaded, it's just a no-brainer to go for multi-threaded rendering. And the final option is the Roguetech performance options. A lot of these have now been incorporated into the launcher as a direct optional choice. It used to be we had to go through a long old website to make all kinds of different changes to make the game run faster. Just tick it. It's like, you know, one tick, game works better. Yeah, all good. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this guide to the install options, and I hope it's helpful. Please like, subscribe, etc. And I hope you'll catch my other tutorials as I do them.